friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over all of my anticipated releases for quarter 3 of 2025. Now, I had originally anticipated this video being just my anticipated releases for the rest of the year, but when I started putting together my Google Doc, I realized that there's really not a whole lot so far that is scheduled to come out in November and December. So rather than doing a video where I talk about 2 books for each month and then, a whole bunch of other stuff gets announced, I figured I would do a Q3 and then, later I would do a Q4. So we're going to be going over what I'm anticipating coming out in July, August, and September. However, I am going to throw June in there just because I have not done one of these videos before and we are just about to start June. So I feel like it's still kind of relevant. What am I looking forward to that is coming out this month? Or this coming month, so to speak. I'm going to go by release date, by month and then by release date. I'm going to go over 3 to 5 books that are priority reads for me, books that I am talking about because I anticipate picking them up. And then I'm going to do not an honorable mention section, but a on my radar section, which is books that I feel are interesting to me, but I'm not going to be prioritizing picking up. Maybe it's the second book in a series I haven't started, or maybe it's an author that's on my radar, but I've never read from them before. So that kind of thing. So it's not like I am any less interested. It's just it's not a priority for me to say pick up Brimstone by Callie Hart because I have not read Quicksilver. So that's kind of the gist. And, just also kind of a way to maybe bring attention to some titles that you guys might not have realized are coming out. Also, if I mispronounce anything, please let me know. And if I get anything wrong, let me know. I did try and do my research, but you never know. Sometimes they like to push release dates. One of the books on here has been pushed 3 times, I think. But that's a big old question mark about whether or not it will actually come out. I feel like it will, but that's neither here nor there. And if any of the information ends up needing to be updated, please leave a comment. I would love to be told the correct information, or I would love that, we all keep each other updated on what's going on with releases that we are looking forward to coming out. So with that being said, the first book I am anticipating in June is coming out on June 3rd, and it is The God and the Guishan, which is the sequel to The God and the Gumiho. And really quickly, the blurbs that I'm going to be using are kind of a combination of these synopses from Goodreads, the little blurb that you get, and Google's AI summary. I did not, for the most part, put these together, or if I did, I just kind of edited them down. So I have my laptop in front of me and I will be using that to kind of keep myself on track because there is a lot of releases and I don't want to misinform you guys. So I'm just kind of using a combination of resources that I found to talk about these books. So, like I said, this is the sequel to The God and the Gumiho, and the premise is the red thread of fate leads Sukka to a cruise down the river of the dead. The woman he finds isn't the woman he is looking for. She's Yu Kisa, and she has no memory of him whatsoever, with seemingly no interest in regaining it either. But when the Heavenly Emperor is murdered, Sukka and Kisa must solve the crime before the cruise ends. And as the mystery draws them closer, they will have to decide what they truly mean to each other. So I am I don't want to talk too much. I edited this down in an effort to keep this vague, but let's just say I am so excited for the next installment in Sukka's and Hani's story. So the second book that I am anticipating also comes out on June 3rd, and that is A Forgery of Fate by Elizabeth Lim. Now, I am an Elizabeth Lim fan. If you see right here, I've got a lot of her works. She's, of course, highly popular for her 6 Crimson Cranes duology, but I was introduced to her by the Spin the Dawn duology, and I loved those books, and I have made a point to try and keep picking up work from her. So the premise of this one is a breathtaking romantic fantasy inspired by Beauty and the Beast about a girl who paints the future and a cursed dragon lord bound by love and deception in a plot to bring down the gods. Trienne did not choose to become a con artist, but after her father is lost at sea, it's up to her to support her mother and two younger sisters. A gifted art forger, True has a unique ability to paint the future, but even such magic is not enough to put her family back together again, or stave off the gangsters demanding payment in blood for her mother's gambling debts. Left with few options, True agrees to a marriage contract with a mysterious dragon lord. He offers a fresh start for her mother and sisters and elusive answers about her father's disappearance. But in exchange, she must join him in his desolate undersea palace, and she must assist him in a plot to infiltrate the tyrannical Dragon King's inner circle, painting a future so treasonous it could upend both the mortal and immortal realms. So, like I said, Elizabeth Lim is at this point nearly an auto-buy author for me, and I am so excited. I do think I have that coming from Fairy Loot. I do. I ordered the special edition, so I am probably going to see that book in like July or August because, you know, SEs usually ship out later than the release date. But next, on June 17th, we have Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. Now, I have loved the two books that I have read from Ashley Poston. I've read The Dead Romantics and The 7-Year Slip. I do know that A Novel Love Story, which I own but have not read yet, did not receive rave reviews. So I am still very excited about this book, but I do know that people are a little gun shy after her last release. So this book follows Joni Clark as a coveted songwriter in LA who is suffering from writer's block. When she returns to her hometown of Vienna Shores, North Carolina, she hopes it will spark inspiration. But when she gets there, nothing is how she left it. How can she think about writing her next song when everything is changing without her? Until she hears it, a melody in her head, lyricless and half-formed, and an alluring and addictive voice to go with it, belonging apparently to a wry musician with hang-ups of his own. Then the very real man attached to the voice shows up in Vienna Shores. He's aggravating and gruff on the outside, nothing like the sweet, funny voice in Joni's head, and he has a plan. They will finish the song haunting them both, break their connection, and hope they don't risk their hearts in the process. So I love Ashley Poston. I love like her little sprinklings of magical realism. She is also becoming an auto-buy author for me. We're not quite there yet, but we are getting there. So, you know, this month is stacked. And then also on the 17th, because apparently the publishing houses like to just, you know, hit us all in one go, we have Gloves Off by Stephanie Archer. I already have this pre-ordered and I am super excited about it. I have been dying for the storyline between these two. But it is a hockey romance novel following Georgia and Alexi. Georgia is the team doctor, and Alexi is kind of like the gruff enforcer on the team. They enter into a marriage of convenience with Georgia needing to marry in order to access her inheritance and Alexi needing citizenship. So hopefully nothing goes wrong there. That's kind of, you know, like fraud in the eyes of the government. So Lord help us all. But, you know, still that could end up being like the crux of the plot. Who knows? But then, also on the 17th, we have The Robin and the Oak Throne by K.A. Lindy, which is the sequel to The Wren and the Holly Library. I read The Wren and the Holly Library in my 24-hour readathon. You will see my thoughts, but you can kind of guess how it went, considering the fact that the sequel has made it on my list. But this book follows Kierce after the events of the first book. Her past is a mystery, and she seeks answers from the Goblin Market. Hoping to uncover the truth about her parents and her identity, she is hired to steal a goblin-made bracelet from the Queen of the Nymphs. Her mission goes awry, and she needs help from Graves, the warlock she has been determined to avoid. Graves always offers help with strings attached. Kierce is drawn back into his game despite her desire to control her own destiny. She must resist his influence while navigating a world filled with magic, ancient grudges, and the potential for a forbidden romance. So if you are unfamiliar with the plot of The Wren and the Holly Library, Graves hires Kierce in the first book to do a job for him, and the two of them kind of end up entangled and then have kind of a falling out-ish at the end of the book. So this, of course, means that in the second book, do they get back together or not? I am betting yes, because it is a romantasy, but I still would love to know how we get there. All right. Now on to books that are releasing in June that are just kind of on my radar, but are not like, ones that I will be picking up right away. On June 1st, we get Death Row by Frida McFadden. On June 3rd, we get Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. On June 10th, we get Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. Also on June 10th, we get Caught Up by Navessa Allen. That is the sequel to Lights Out. Also on June 10th, we get With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. And on June 24th, we get Don't Let Him by Lisa Jewell. Apparently, June is just the month for thriller authors to release their books. All right, moving on to July. On July 8th, which is my birthday, we're getting The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Bridget Knightley. So this book follows Osric and Oriane. Lord help me if I'm pronouncing those wrong. Please forgive me. But Osric is a member of the Furian Order of Assassins and is in dire need of healing. The only healer who can help him is Oriane, preeminent scientist, bastion of moral good, and member of an enemy order. Oriane is desperate for funding to heal the sick, so desperate that when Osric bribes her to help him, she accepts, even if she detests him and everything he stands for. A forced collaboration ensues. The brilliant woman in STEM is coerced into working with someone with a PhD in murders, much to Oriane's disgust. As Osric and Oriane work together to heal his illness and investigate the mysterious reoccurrence of a deadly pox, they find themselves ardently denying their attraction, which only fuels the heat in between them. And this is the line that really sold me on this. Perfect for fans of the love hypothesis and Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which I think is a wild cross. So I am down to see what happens. And I think that this is actually the July Illumicrate book. So I'm so down to be getting that in my book box, especially because I don't love the original cover. And then on July 15th, we get the Jasad Crown by Sarah Hashem, which I am super duper excited about. It is the sequel to the Jasad Heir, a book that I very much adored, enough so that I went online and got the Fairy Loot mug that said she had the temperament of a deranged goose, which is a line from the first book, and it's just hilarious, and it is everything. But this book follows our fugitive queen, Sylvia, as she attempts to restore her lost kingdom. Held captive by the Urabi, Sylvia must navigate their trust and her own magic to prevent the ruin of her people. Meanwhile, Aaron, an heir to a rival kingdom, grapples with his father's desire to quell rebellion and the sacred laws he must uphold, leading to a clash of ideologies and a war for the future of Jasad. So if you're unfamiliar with the plot of the first book, real quick, Jasad is a country that once existed and had magic, and magic kind of became outlawed, and Jasadi, or the Jasad people, were then hunted and killed because they carry magic, which is now illegal. So also on July 15th, we are getting a Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. Now, this one's a little sus to me because this book has been repeatedly pushed off. I think it was originally supposed to come out last fall and has been pushed at least twice or something like that since then. So I'm kind of giving this book a little bit of side eye, but I am hopeful because I very much enjoyed A Very Irregular Society of Witches. So I most definitely think I will enjoy this one. But it follows Sarah, a witch who once possessed great magical power, but has had her life dramatically change. She resurrected her great aunt and a rooster. In doing so, lost most of her magic and was exiled from the guild. She now helps her great aunt run an enchanted inn and finds a chance to regain her power when she discovers an old spell book and meets Luke Larson, a magical historian who may hold the key to unlocking its secrets. The story unfolds with Sarah dealing with the inn's quirky guests, her talking fox companion, and her own internal struggles, while also navigating the Watchville Guild and the possibility of a slow burn romance with Luke. I will say I'm hoping that our because this sounds like Grumpy Sunshine, I am kind of hoping that our Grump is a little less mean than the one in A Very Irregular Society of Witches, because he was a little bit of an ass in that book. But I am still very much excited for the second book. I really like kind of the world that our author has built here. And then also on the 15th, I think we have 2 more books on the 15th. So the first one is The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. And this tells us the story of Kaz's maker. So if you've read The Spell Shop, Kaz is the sentient spider plant in that book. And Turlu, which is the book, like the character that this book follows, was his maker. So Turlu Purna broke the law because she was lonely. She cast a spell and created a magically sentient spider plant, Kaz. As punishment, she was turned into a wooden statue and tucked away in the North Reading Room of the Great Library of Elysium. So same library that burned in the Spell Shop. One day, Turlu wakes in the cold of winter on a nearly deserted island full of hundreds of magical greenhouses. She's starving and freezing, and the only other human on the island is a grumpy gardener. So another Grumpy Sunshine, maybe. When she learns that the magic that sustains them is failing, like the magic sustaining the greenhouses, causing the death of everything within them, Turlu knows she must help, even if that means breaking the law again. This time, though, she isn't alone. Assisted by the gardener and a sentient rose, Turlu must unravel the secrets of a long-dead sorcerer if she wants to save the world. So this very much sounds like a cozy fantasy. I will say it sounds lower stakes than the Spell Shop was, but who knows? Maybe, it will be kind of, the Spell Shop was, I would say, like medium stakes. Like it wasn't, the consequences weren't just pertinent to our characters, but to like their immediate community. But the stakes were not like important enough to like change the world. You know what I mean? So I'm curious if we will get medium stakes again or if we will get low stakes this time. And then last book that we're getting on the 15th, at least that, I am dying to get my hands on, is Of Flame and Fury by Michaela Bridge. Phoenix racing is a deadly but lucrative sport on an island built from ash. Kel Vera and her Phoenix racing team, the Crimson Howlers, are struggling. After their rider dies in a race, Kel reluctantly partners with the arrogant and charismatic rider Coop. Tensions rise as a mysterious tech mogul offers to sponsor them, sparking a conspiracy that threatens Kel's family and her beloved Phoenix, Savita. So I am down for some Phoenix racing. Hopefully this is delicious and fantastic. And then on July 22nd, we are getting Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson, which is her adult debut. And I am super duper duper excited about this. It follows Jet Mason, a 27-year-old with a promising future, when she is attacked in her home on Halloween night and suffers a catastrophic head injury. She survives the attack, but is told she has a fatal brain injury and will die within a week. Desperate to find out who attacked her, Jet decides to use her remaining time to solve her own attempted murder. But she only has 7 days and only the help of her childhood friend Billy to uncover the truth and figure out who is trying to kill her. So I have loved everything I have read from Holly Jackson. I will say she tends to write some rather difficult to love main characters, but that doesn't change the fact that like the books themselves, I think the plot lines are just masterfully done. And now we have our July on the radar section. On the 1st, we are getting Overruled by Lana Ferguson. On the 3rd, we are getting Rose and Chains by Julie Soto. On the 8th, we are getting City of Smoke and Brimstone by Kayla Edwards. This is House of Devils book 4, the first of which I believe is the City of Gods and Monsters. The 15th, we are getting The Bewitching by Sylvia Morano Garcia. She wrote Mexican Gothic and like a few other books that people have really loved. Also on the 15th, we are getting Made for Each Other by Lynn Painter. On July 22nd, we are getting Arcana Academy by Lise Kova. She wrote The Elf King, or A Deal with the Elf King, or whatever the heck that book was. On July 29th, we are getting Wrath of the Dragons by Olivia Rose Darling, which is the sequel to Fear the Flames. On July 29th, we are getting Silver Cloak by L.K. Stephen, which has been a highly anticipated via the internet release. I know that it was it was Fairy Loot who did like a special edition announcement of it. Also on the 29th, we're getting Glorious Rivals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. That is the second book in the Grandest Games spin-off series from the Inheritance games. On the 30th, we are getting Fury Bound by Sable Sorensen, which is the sequel to Dire Bound, which I have not gotten to yet, but I'm so excited. But that's why Fury Bound is on the radar. Is I'm so desperate to read the first one, but I haven't gotten there yet, so I feel like I can't say that I'm anticipating it in the same way I am, something else like A Forgery of Fate. And then the last book we're getting the last book that's on my radar in July is on the 31st. We're getting Thorns and Fire by Helen Shore, which is the Ashes of Thesmar book 2. And now we are on to August. In August, I am anticipating on the 5th, The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk by Carissa Broadbent, which is the 4th book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series and the 2nd book in the Shadowborn duet. But this follows Misha and Asar after Misha's sacrifice plunges the world into eternal night in the first book. Asar, imprisoned by the gods and consumed by revenge, seeks to find Misha again. A goddess offers them a chance at redemption and reunion, prompting them to embark on a dangerous mission. They must seize the power of the god of death so Asar can become a true god, but their journey takes them through mortal and immortal realms, facing enemies and friends while the underworld teeters on the brinks of collapse. So I am very much excited. I know that the start of the second duet was not everybody's favorite, but I actually do quite enjoy the quest aspect of that book. So I'm very hopeful that this one will also follow up with that kind of vibe. Also on June 5th, we are getting If Not For My Baby by Kate Golden. Now, I have some reservations about this book. I very, very much enjoyed the Sacred Stone trilogy. It's right here. And this is the same author. However, this is a contemporary romance, so not the kind of vibe I'm used to getting from her. And the initial Goodreads reviews are not, wonderful. So I'm still going to, read it and we shall see. But I do kind of have my reservations. It follows the story of Clementine Clark, a waitress who finds herself on tour with an Irish megastar as a backing vocalist. She's initially resistant to both the fame and the star's attention, but over time she finds herself drawn to his poetic and introverted nature, sparking a whirlwind romance. So, very much interested, but like I said, I kind of have some reservations about it. And then on the 26th of August, we're getting Catabasis. I'm by R.F. Kuang. I've heard it pronounced like 5 different ways. Catabasis, like a million different ways. Whatever way is right, roll with it. But this book follows Alice Law. She's only ever had one goal: to become one of the brightest minds in the field of magic. She has sacrificed everything to make that a reality. Her pride, her health, her love life, and most definitely her sanity. All to work with Professor Jacob Grims at Cambridge, the greatest magician in the world. That is, until he dies in a magical accident that could possibly be her fault. Grimes is now in hell, and she is going in after him, because his recommendation could hold her very future in his incorporeal hands. And even death is not going to stop her pursuit of her dreams, nor will the fact that her rival, Peter Murdoch, has come to the same conclusion, which I think is wild. You potentially accidentally commit manslaughter, and then you try to fix it / make it better because you need a college recommendation letter. That's wild premise, but I am here for it. And then from our on the radar list, we have on the 5th, Scorched Earth by Daniela L. Jensen, which is book 4 in her Dark Shores series and should be the finale. Then on the 7th, we are getting Accomplice to the Villain, which is the 3rd book in the Assistant to the Villain series. On the 19th, we're getting Love Arranged by Lauren Asher, which is the 3rd book in the Lakefront Billionaires series and also a series finale. And then on the 28th, we are getting Dawn of Chaos and Fury by Melissa K. Rorick, which is Legacy Book 4 and also a finale, which Here's the thing. This would be in like the section where I go into greater detail on it because I love Melissa K. Rourke and she is at this point nearly an auto-buy author for me. But I read the first book and I struggled with the first book. I really could not do the like male main character in the first book. He pissed me off. I very much enjoyed the female main character and I very much enjoyed the plot. And I have read Lady of Darkness. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got the whole series in hardback right there. But he was just so insufferable that I put the series down because I just couldn't do it. So I will read this series eventually because I'm hoping that he kind of gets his head out of his butt in later down the line. And more often than not, especially in like a long series like this, the first like love interest we get is not the final love interest. And I do not want them to end up together. So I have hopes. But that is why that book is not higher on my list. Moving on to September, on the 2nd, we are getting Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross, and I am so intrigued by this book. The synopsis has just really sucked me in. Born in the firelit domain of the Underrealm, Matilda is the youngest goddess of her clan, blessed with humble messenger magic. But in a land where gods kill each other to steal power and alliances break as quickly as they are forged, Matilda must come of age sooner than most. She may be known to carry words and letters through the realms, but she holds a secret she must hide even from her dearest of allies to ensure her survival. And to complicate matters, there is a mortal boy who dreams of her, despite the fact that they have never met. 10 years ago, Vincent of Beckett wrote to Matilda on the darkest night of his life, begging the goddess he befriended in dreams to help him. When his request went unanswered, Vincent moved on, becoming the hardened, irreverent Lord of the River who has long forgotten Matilda. That is, until she comes tumbling into his bedroom one morning with a letter for him. As fate would have it, Matilda and Vincent were destined to find each other beyond dreams. There may be a chance for Matilda to rewrite the blood-soaked ways of the gods, but at immense sacrifice. She will have to face something she fears even more than losing her magic, to be vulnerable and to allow herself to finally be loved. So I am super duper intrigued by this. A big part of it is the like gods. I have really, really enjoyed a lot of like the magic and like god systems that Rebecca Ross has written in the past, and I don't think this will be an exception. So I am down. And then on September 9th, we are getting Wild Card by Elsie Silver, which is book 4 in the Rose Hill series. And this one intrigues me. I won't lie. I've not loved what I read in the Rose Hill series so far, not as nearly as much as like her previous works, but it's Elsie Silver. I'm still down. I'm still interested. And this follows Sebastian, who is a fire pilot, and unfortunately for our main character, her ex-boyfriend's dad. A chance meeting brought us together, and a misconnection has kept us apart. 1 year later, a stroke of fate has us living under the same roof, which makes everything between us downright messy. Because even after all this time, he's still the man I think about when I fall asleep. The one I can't get over no matter how hard I try. He's working on mending a fragile relationship with his son, and we both know that acting on these urges would be the ultimate betrayal. So I know that this series has very much been focused on single dads, and I think it's very interesting that we're getting an age gap romance where the love interest is a single dad to our FMC's former boyfriend. Now, I'm kind of hoping that she's on like the at least later side of 20 because that age gap could be quite significant and could be a little, ugh. But a girl can hope. So I'm putting it on there. I'm down for a little forbidden romance. And then on the 16th, we are getting Among the Burning Flowers by Samantha Shannon, which has been a long time coming. It is part of the Roots of Chaos series. It also has like the Priory of the Orange Tree. And it focuses on the living threat of the great worm Fyredel's awakening and its impact on the land of Yscallan. It centers on Morosa, a princess imprisoned by her father and betrothed to Albright, and Estina, a color-hunting draconic beast. As Yscallan faces imminent danger, the story explores themes of resilience, love, and the consequences of choices made in the face of a cataclysmic event. And then on the 23rd, this one has made the list, not necessarily because of the premise, but because I love the author. So on the 23rd, we are getting Never Ever After by Sulin Tan. And it's a Cinderella inspired tale. And I'm kind of reaching my capacity for like fairy tale inspired works. But because it's Sulin Tan, I'm going to give it a go. But it follows Yining, a young thief seeking to recover an enchanted ring. She's drawn into the power-hungry world of a prince, unearthing both the mystery of her magical past and a romantic connection that challenges her expectations. So, I am interested, but I'm also a little bit wary. And then, also on the 23rd, we are getting A Steeping of the Blood by Hafsa Faisal. Now, I know that not everybody loved A Tempest of Tea, and that is fine, but I very much enjoyed it, so I am excited for the sequel and finale to this duology. And it's following Arthi and her crew as they navigate the aftermath of a deadly night in White Roaring and face a new threat to their existence. The city is in turmoil, with the press dead, the public demanding justice, and vampires in danger. Amid the chaos, Arthi must reassemble her crew, confront her past, and fight one last time to protect her loved ones. So, I'm very excited to get the sequel to, where is it? That lovely book right there. Very excited. And then my two like on the radar titles for September are, on the 1st, we are getting Kingdom of the Forgotten, which is Witchwalker Book 4 by Sharissa Weeks. I have read the first book, and I am interested in continuing the series. It's just not a priority for me at this moment, which is why it's on the radar section. And then on the 9th, we are getting People Watching by Hannah Bonham Young, and she wrote like Out on a Limb and Into the Woods and like all those books that people have like very much enjoyed. So it has come to my attention in the editing process that I completely forgot most of my on the radar picks for September. So we're going to do a voiceover clip because right now editing me looks like a thumb and I don't think anybody wants to see that. So bear with me. On September 16th, the Gingerbread Bakery by Laurie Gilmore is set to come out. That is part of the Dream Harbor series. It's kind of like the cinnamon bun, strawberry patch situation. On the 23rd, We Love You Bunny by Mona Awad is coming out. That is the sequel to the very beloved Bunny novel. On the 23rd, we are also getting The Primal of Blood and Bone, which is the 6th book in the Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. That is a very polarizing series. A lot of people feel some type of way about how it continued from the first book. On the 25th of September, we are getting Uncharmed by Lucy Jane Wood, which is the sequel to Rewitched, which kind of took the internet by storm last fall. And I am desperate for it to be fall so that I can go ahead and pick up Rewitched and then read Uncharmed. On the 30th, we are getting Soul Searching by Lila Sage, which is the first book in her new series. I am sorry to say that our beloved cartoon covers are now on their way out, but I very much am looking forward to her new series. On the 30th, we are also getting Every Spiral of Fate, which is the 4th book in the This Woven Kingdom series by Tara Mafi, which is a series that I am so excited to get my hands on at some point. But as of right now, I have so many I am in the middle of that is just on my radar. And then on the 30th, we are getting Fake Skating by Lynn Painter, which is, of course, a very beloved author, wrote stuff like Better Than the Movies. And then also on the 30th, we are getting Holly by Adeline Grace, which is the novella, like the holiday novella that she is putting out to go with her Belladonna series. So now that wraps up everything that was on my list. Once again, I am so sorry about this. Thank you for putting up with me. And I will now pass you back to past me to wrap up this video. So that brings us to the end of this video. I am super excited about all of the books on this list. Like I said, if I gave it a blurb, it is very much present on my timeline for books to read. If it ended up in the on the radar section, I am, aware and interested, but, for some reason I am not quite, at the point of reading it right when it comes out. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you would like to stick around for a while, please subscribe. Either way, I very much appreciate you joining me today. Bye.